to the first lecture of the Centre Public Research Lecture Series for 2023. A special welcome to new students who have just started their PhD journeys and other courses at ARU. I'm Ming, I'm a Senior Research Fellow at Centre. Normally, this lecture is chaired by our director, Professor Helen Oden-Miller, who is currently on leave and has sent her best wishes to everyone. So just a quick introduction to Centre. We are a research institute aiming to enhance the social, economic, and cultural impact of music therapy research in the UK and internationally. Our research has 5 key strands. These include healthy aging and dementia, for which we received a Research and Innovation Award called the Queen's Anniversary Prize last year. Also neuroscience of music therapy, and the area of neurorehabilitation and stroke, and mental health, and also focusing on children, young people, and families. So today, I'm delighted to welcome 3 esteemed speakers with multiple roles in their fields. They're musicians, educators, trainers, campaigners, and many, many more. So we have Grace Meadows from Music for Dementia, and Niels and Dr. Christopher Stanbury from Casio UK. So I'll let them introduce themselves later on. But without further ado, I will invite our speakers onto the stage to present the Light Up My Life project and other exciting work they do. So I'll hand it over to you now.
Excuse me, just 2 seconds whilst I share my screen. Chris, can you just confirm that this is in the correct format?
Yeah, that looks great.
Fantastic. Okay, so thank you very much, Naomi and Ming, for that introduction. As you can see on your screen, we're here today to look at a recent project that we undertook called Casio Light Up My Life campaign, and there are 3 parties involved in this really amazing project. So ourselves, Casio, the national campaign Music for Dementia, and also MHA Care Homes, who allowed us to facilitate the project through their care homes. So the idea today is to give you a bit of a background about the project, a bit about Casio, some interesting facts, but also how it came about, how we've worked together, and then we'll go through some of the incredible results that came off the back of this 4-month project. So without further ado, some quick introductions. My name is Neil Evans. I am the head of the Casio EMI division. That stands for Electronic Musical Instruments. We make anything with black and white keys on them. So anything from little kids' toys from sort of £40 right up to professional level digital pianos around £4,000. I'm a musician for 40 years plus, and I have a real passion about everything that music can bring to people's lives, the value add, the health and well-being, positive attributes that learning a musical instrument can offer people throughout their lives. And I've certainly experienced that myself growing up through school and learning multiple instruments. And this is why I was really passionate about in getting involved, particularly in this project, but we have a wider project also running around music and well-being in general. I'm not a music therapist, I'm not a researcher, so if I do say something music therapy like or non-scientific, please ignore me and listen to the wise words of Grace Meadows, which is a lovely segue into Grace.
Beautifully done, Neil. Hi, everybody. I am a music therapist, but primarily at the moment I am leading the Music for Dementia campaign, and this is a national campaign calling for music to be an integral part of dementia care. And like Neil and many of you on the call, I'm also a musician. I'm a bassoonist and contrabassoonist, and would echo lots of what Neil said about the power of music. And to that And I co-authored the Power of Music report that we launched last year in partnership with UK Music to look at how we can do exactly what Neil was saying, harness the power of music to support health and well-being and help us reimagine how we think about health and social care here in the UK.
Chris.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Well, it's nice to be here. And I'm first and foremost a music teacher, a piano teacher. I've been teaching for over 2 decades. And I really do love teaching, and to see the rewards that playing a musical instrument brings to people of variety of different backgrounds. My youngest pupil at the moment is 6. My eldest pupil is 82, in actual fact, and I am very privileged to not only work for Casio in a variety of different roles, but also to show people the joy really of making music. And that's one of the reasons why this particular project for me was so rewarding.
Excellent, thank you, Chris. So that's who you'll be hearing from today. But I thought what we'd do is start off with a little bit about Casio. Who are we? Who are we as a company? What have we done? I'm sure many of you have used some of our products over the years, and there's some nice amusing things in here. But certainly as a company, our ethos is to try and create products that are useful to people. That actually make a genuine difference in people's lives. We are an electronics company, and over the years we've made many products and many world firsts and introduced them to the market. And I just thought I'll give you a very brief recap of what some of the products we've made over that period, and some of them are quite interesting. So without further ado, this is where it all started. It started by 4 brothers. They were the Casio brothers back in 1957, Tokyo, Japan. We're 66 years old this year. And they changed the name to Casio to make it a little bit more easy to pronounce and more Western friendly. And here is a picture of all 4 of them here, the 4 brothers, with their very first product to market. And it was they launched here the world's first compact electronic calculator, and the Casio 14A. Now, you might say compact if you have a look here. This thing was the size of a chest fridge freezer at the time, with a wedge on the top which had the keyboard and a little light display to do the calculations. So this introduction of the world's first compact calculator was really where it first started, and at the time was revolutionary. At the time it was priced around £3,000, which is just shy of £70,000 in today's money. But this is where it started, the first compact calculator. And then moving through the years, there have been many innovations and world firsts. So in 1983, we developed the world's smallest portable LCD TV, and it was in fact colour. And here it is, the TV-10. Some of you, if you're old enough, may recall using some of these, but it was a product that at the time was really useful. It was innovative, and you could use it off a standard aerial. Moving forward, and this is a real major development for us, we developed the first consumer digital camera called the QV10. Way before this, some of you may recall the little cartridges with film, and you had to send them away to get developed. But this was the first consumer digital camera, and here it is. And this was back in 1994. And at the time, it cost a whopping £700. It had a huge 700 pixels, if you compare that to the 10 or 15 megapixels of today. But I just want to point a really unique feature out on this camera. And again, this cements the sort of forward-thinking ethos of our R&D team. And that's this thing here. And it was quite unusual because this is a fully rotating 180-degree lens. So what does that mean? It meant by default, Casio invented the selfie way before mobile phones were widely available and certainly had digital cameras on them. We were there with the QV10, and if you have a look, when you flipped it around, it also flipped the screen so you could see yourself. So I just thought it was quite interesting to see where we've been as a company and what we've done. But then we move on to musical instruments. We got into musical instruments in 1980, and since then we've sold over 95 million units worldwide, and they have taken the form of many, many different products: synthesizers, keyboards, pianos, even some guitars and saxophones in there. But there's one product which is integral to this entire project, and again, it's back in 1994. Seems to be a year popular for innovation, and it's this product here. It's called the Magical Light One. As you can see, it has a very 1990s color coding on there with a turquoise, yellow, orange, and purple. You know, I'm sure Chris has got a shell suit somewhere hanging, lurking around in the wardrobe that reminiscent of those colors. But this keyboard is key, and this development of this technology is key for this report. And it was the world's first light-up keyboard. And the technology is pretty straightforward. The keys would light up, which would show you the correct notes to play. And the keyboard would come with a very simple song bank. There were 10 tunes in it, well-known tunes: Frere Jacques, Joy to the World, Mary Had a Little Lamb. But what's really important about this is that you simply just had to follow the lights. There was no musical training required at all. Anybody could play it, instant success, and you could produce something musically recognizable. And these were many of the barriers that we'll go on to talk about when we were thinking about this project. So 1994, light up key technology introduced. And this is my little remember icon, because we're going to come back to that and discuss it in a bit more detail. So how do we go from digital cameras, light up keyboards, to producing a really detailed report with 3 partners: Music for Dementia and MHA, along with Casio, which we released on the 1st of September. So we have to cast our minds back to this time and this guy here. Some of you might have differing views, but March 2020, this guy told us to stay at home. Stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. What was the knock-on effect of this? Millions and millions of people at home. Children, because schools were closed, busy professionals who are no longer commuting to work, and many, many older people, or the older demographic, either isolating or shielding at home. And what we witnessed was a huge number of people turning to music and music making during this period. It's estimated that over 1 million adults learned a musical instrument during lockdown. And that doesn't take into account the number of children that would have learned as well off the back of that, and people buying for their families. So there was this overwhelming sense of people from different backgrounds looking to either keep their children busy, either to take up a new hobby because they now have this time in their hands, or older people that were reconnecting with music or turning to music as a way of coping because they were isolating and shielding. And it's really quite amazing what happened during this period. As a company, from a commercial point of view, we sold every single musical instrument we had in stock. And that went on for about 12 months, not just in the UK, but worldwide, which is quite amazing to see just globally how people did look to making music as a way of coping. So during that time, you'll see here's a picture of Dr. Chris. We started to produce our own Learn at Home series of lessons, and we pushed them out across all of our social channels. What was really lovely to see, again, exactly what I've just mentioned before, we were getting feedback, we were getting comments about how people have enjoyed making music during this time. Some of the examples here, it's been great overview for someone who has never played the piano, so people starting to learn. This one here, thanks to Dr. Chris, I've just bought a lighter keyboard for my 5-year-old son. I'll definitely go through these lessons and we'll learn together. So we've got parent and child learning. And then this one at the bottom, it's so nice to be working alongside all other learners, old and young. Please do keep going. So we started to do our own research off the back of this. we saw this massive outpouring of feedback from people really enjoying music. And we started to develop a wider well-being campaign. And we were trying to segment it into different areas and understand, well, what are the messages here and why are people turning to music? And we came up with a very simple campaign that playing music makes life better. And we broke it down to learn to play and become smarter, happier, healthier. And off the back of this, we did a lot of research, Dr. Chris, most of it, but we found a huge number of white papers and research into why learning a musical instrument at various stages of life can provide so many health and well-being positive attributes, and as well as mental health attributes as well. So we broke it down into 3 areas. Smarter, in terms of kids learning musical instrument, helping with concentration, cognitive function, memory, coordination, social inclusion. We found reports around how playing a musical instrument can help people set goals and ambition and help reduce stress and anxiety. And this was geared more to the busy professionals that were constantly rushing around and not having time to do things. And then the third area was how music could potentially make you healthier, keep the synapses firing, keeping your brain functioning, moving your fingers, which potentially could help with arthritis. And we found so much information. We thought we would try and condense these into 3 areas where people could simply understand why playing a musical instrument might be of benefit to them. And we created 3 very fun, animated videos to explain the findings that we found: smarter, happier, healthier. And they are out there now live on our website, and many people interact with them and find information as to, you know, they think they know that playing a musical instrument is good for them, but this explains a little bit more detail as to why. And one area we really wanted to focus on was the healthier side, that slightly older demographic, both on the physical side, but also the mental side. And we were doing research, and we were constantly coming up with links of music, playing music, listening to music, and the effects it has on people living with dementia. And that's where Chris came across a quite remarkable infographic, which had some numbers on it that we were just blown away with. Well, some of them are quite frightening, but some of them just were quite an amazing read. And Chris forwarded it to me. We then reached out to Music for Dementia and started to have discussions on how we might work together, which beautifully moves into a segue of that said infographic. Here it is on the left. And I'm now going to hand over to Grace, who's going to talk you through a bit more about Music for Dementia and some of these statistics and challenges. Grace.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Neil. So it's quite a detailed infographic, and there's lots of information on there, so I won't go into all of them, but we produced this to try and synthesize why dementia is the challenge that it is in terms of adopting music as part of good dementia care, but also just to give a little bit of context so that people can understand why we're saying that music is a necessity and not a nicety. So those numbers in the blue box in the top left-hand corner, probably really familiar to people. And actually, I would say that number, that 885,000 number, is probably over 900,000 now, and on the rise. But we do know that still one person is diagnosed with dementia every 3 minutes. So thinking about that musically, that's 1 person every song. So these are big stats. But what we found, looking at that context, is as Neil was saying, that playing a musical instrument in older adulthood may reduce the risk of dementia by as much as 1/3. And this is huge because we know that there is no cure at the moment for dementia, but helping to reduce risk, anything that we can do in the preventative space around keeping ourselves happy and healthy and well, is really good for us. And music is one of those things. But more importantly, on top of that, there is this very powerful evidence piece that we know, which is that music therapy, specifically music therapy, reduces agitation and the need for medication in 67% of people living with dementia. Now, given that we've got a over-prescribing crisis on our hands in this country, and the government currently, I think, puts out 1.1 billion prescriptions are written every year. The government target at the moment is to reduce that by 10%. So if we can be proving that music therapy reduces the need for medication, let's do more of that. But we also know that tied into that very much is that music therapy is 35 times less expensive when compared with many other therapies and interventions. So the cost effectiveness piece, that argument that we often get challenged on as a profession and more widely across music, we can start to really tackle that that narrative with evidence like this. So there's a real cost effective argument there. But also we know that there are ways and contexts in which the music works to tackle the symptoms of dementia. So thinking about care home context, 70% of people in care homes have dementia or severe memory problems. But we also know that through singing, depression can be reduced by 40% of those living with dementia in care homes. And just looping back to that idea around the effectiveness and the cost effectiveness of music interventions for people living with dementia, we found that with the silver linings research that took place, for every pound invested, the return was a 93% increase. So it leaves us questioning, why are we not doing this more? Why is music just not something that's synonymous with dementia care? What are the challenges and barriers? Well, we know that awareness is a big thing. If I had a pound for every time I spoke to somebody who said, only I'd known about music when my parent or my loved one was living with dementia, we would be funding every musician in this country to be working in a care setting. But it's more about how we position music. People haven't quite made that connection yet completely, that music is there to support our health and well-being. We know it's there to provide amazing entertainment and these huge memories that we store with us throughout our lives, but we haven't yet quite made that health and well-being connection. So there is that awareness piece that is continuing to go on, and that's why this partnership with Casio is so exciting, because it's been a really innovative way of increasing awareness and understanding. But there are also these preconceptions and attitudes around, well, I'm not musical, therefore I can't make music a part of dementia care. And we'll come on to that a bit more, because that was some of the interesting findings that came about through this project. But also this idea of value, and again, it is tied into preconceptions and attitudes. Oh, music's just as nice to have, we just bolt that on, it's not a necessity. And actually we're challenging that narrative through this project and through the wider Power of Music piece, that actually music brings true value to enhancing and enriching care. Anecdotally, we've shown that in CQC reports, that where there is a rating of high or outstanding, good or outstanding, sorry, there is a reference to music as part of that CQC report. And where there is a need to improve or not good enough rating, there is no inclusion of music. So actually there is a real genuine, tangible value of including music as part of dementia care. But we can only do that if people are trained and skilled and feeling confident in using music. And often that initial barrier of, oh, I'm not musical, therefore I can't make music a part of care, kicks in, and then we have to think about what training and skills look like. And what we're not saying is that everyone must be a music therapist. It's taking the essence of what music therapy is about, and the notion that we can use music to improve and enhance and enrich health and well-being, and creating a training that is easily accessible and can be rolled out. And this idea of, I don't have the confidence or the permission or the skill to do this, I can't do this, I'm not musical. So we've really tried to challenge all of these challenges that we know exist around using music as part of dementia care. And this is where I will try and segue nicely into Chris, because actually he has been working on how we think about enabling people and empowering people with training and skills.
Thank you, Grace. Fantastic. So at that point, this is where I asked you to remember earlier the ML1. There it is, the Magic Light keyboard back in 1994. We're now going to show you what it can do, and we're going to go to a live demo in its current iteration here, looking much more sophisticated, the LKS 250. And this is where I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Chris, and I think Naomi, you're going to ping Chris so we can all see him. So Dr. Chris.
Thank you, Neil.
Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, if I just very briefly change my camera angle, you can see that I've got one actually here in front of me. I'm going to play it for you in just a second, but it's probably worth just saying a couple of brief points about the design of this, because a lot of people, if you mention keyboards and pianos to them, they say, oh, they're quite bulky, you know, I need to be different places and I want something that's portable, and keyboards aren't portable. As you can see from this, it really is very, very compact. It's actually very, very lightweight as well. And my favorite feature about this instrument is actually, if I take away the music rest, you can see that we've got a handle here. So this is really quite unique. You can move this keyboard literally with just one hand. And actually you can put batteries inside it as well. So you're not tethered to a power supply. You can literally take this anywhere. And also, if you have a look at it, you can see that it's very, very straightforward. It's quite minimal. And this is something that we deliberately chose for this project. A lot of keyboards, you know, if you look at them, they look a little bit like a flight deck of an aircraft. And it can be very off-putting to people. If you're not a musician, you know, you look at it and you think, that's not for me. Well, with something like this, it's much friendlier. There's not a wealth of buttons to get lost in. And actually, this little wheel here does a great job of allowing you to change some settings really without getting too complicated and in depth. So this wheel here can do a variety of different things. It can change the sound of the keyboard. So when you turn it on, we get the sound of the piano. But actually there are 400 sounds in here. So if the user, for whatever reason, doesn't perhaps prefer the piano sound, they want something a little bit softer maybe, it's very easy just to find something else, maybe a little bit more gentle, like that. And the wheel can also access some of the built-in songs in here, which is really the big feature of this keyboard. There are 60 well-known traditional songs that you can listen to and play along to. There's something in it really for everybody. And it's worth saying, as well as 60 that are built into here, there is a USB connection on the back. You can plug an iPad into it and actually load in any song you like and play along to it. But today, I'm just going to show you briefly one of the built-in songs. So I'm going to press song and I'm going to choose number 46, which is My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. And let's just have a listen to how it should sound. Okay, so very briefly there, it sounds really exciting. We've got drums, we've got different sounds. It's a lovely, lovely tune to sort of even sing along to. And you would have seen some light up keys. I had some on my left hand and some for my right hand. Now, would we expect someone to be able to pretty much play like that straight away? And of course, the answer is no. And the really lovely thing about this keyboard is anybody can experience the joy of making music and feel like they're in control. It never feels like you're overwhelmed or that music is running away from you, because we've got a little feature on here where what you can do is just focus on one hand at a time and just have a look at maybe the right hand melody. So I'm going to play it again and I'm going to try and follow those light up keys. can hear the keyboards waiting for me to find that first one, so I'm always in control. So it sounds really great, and really anybody could have a go at this and really feel like they're making music. Now, I'm doing a pretty good job there of actually finding the right, lighted key, but actually it works well for everybody. If you have someone that's perhaps doesn't have the same motor skills, you can't play the wrong note. This really is lovely. It's very, very inclusive. You can play any key you like and still feel like you're taking part. And just before I hand back to Neil, of course, it may well be that you have someone who would like the challenge of being able to find exactly the right key. And can we do that? Well, yes, we can. And again, it's very easy to do. All we're going to do now is change the settings slightly. So now when you hear it, the keyboard won't advance that song until I do find the right key. Here we go. I can hear the first note already. There it is. If I play the wrong key, nothing happens yet. There we go. So with this instrument, it's very, very accessible, and it makes playing the piano and playing the keyboard really enjoyable for everybody. And I think later on we're going to see a couple of videos of the fantastic reaction we have from using this keyboard in settings. Neil.
Fantastic, Chris. Thank you very much for that. A whistle-stop tour there. I did see a quick question. It is the Casio LK S250. So LK stands for lighting key, and S, slim and smart, because they're so slim and smart. So I'm now going to go back to my presentation and find out where we were. Hey. Right, Chris, is this in full presentation mode?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So there it is, the LKS 250. As you can see, really slim, compact, the carry handle, the light up keys. You can really vary how you use it in a music activity, depending on who you're working with and their ability to interact with what you're doing. And we'll see a bit more of that as we go through. So what was our initial idea? It was a research and learning piece. The concept, and this is part of the presentation I gave to Grace and Ming, and they bolted on loads more things to this, but we thought actually the lighting key keyboard could initially provide three initial sources of stimuli. Visual, the lighting keys, the physical act of pressing the key and following the lights, and then the auditory, you're generating something. The keyboards come preloaded with pieces of music that are recognizable. Like Chris has just shown you, the lesson system is very easy to follow, and it's instant success. And I can't sort of keep hammering home how important this is. The ability just to get stuck in straight away, and you will see it. Some of the common barriers, I can't do it, I can't play the keyboard, I've never played the keyboard before, we heard so many times, but we were able to get over it. And for those that are a bit more adventurous, if you connect it to an iPad or a device, you can load in bespoke MIDI files. So if you have somebody that's interested in 50s music or 60s music, which my learnings from Grace and Ming is that if you can adapt the content to suit each individual's needs, requirements, or interested, that takes it even one step further. So that is possible. So that was the concept, the offering. We sent out 50 keyboards with stand and headphones, and that's really important, which you'll see in a minute, where people could sit, play the keyboard on their own without being conscious of making noise to others around them, and play with headphones. There were some training sessions organised from Dr. Chris, but also Dr. Ming as well, on how to use the keyboard and best practice, things to know, things to show. And then we asked all music therapists that were taking part, care home managers and care home staff, just to make notes, take photos, videos, and track the progress and the evidence of using these keyboards and the lighting key system in musical activities. And it was across a 4-month period, October to January. And at the end of that period of time, we would look to use our own in-house CRM system and work together with MHA and Music for Dementia to design a questionnaire to capture all of the data and analyze it. So we came up with this questionnaire with a hope to produce a nice, concise, detailed report with lots of imagery and video evidence. And in terms of the objectives that Grace has already touched on, shine a light and raise awareness of music activity and music therapy within care home settings, enable those living with limited mobility to experience and take part in music therapy. That was part of our initial questionnaire. A number of music therapists and care home managers and activity coordinators said to us, actually, some people can't get to the common room. They can't get to these areas where these activities are going, and it's a bit of a challenge. How can we encourage participation and engagement in music activity? Something new and fun, new technology. Enable participants to produce something musically recognizable. And again, this is really important. You go from listening to music to taking part in music to actually what Chris has just shown you, you can produce something musically recognizable, and that gives a great sense of achievement. For music therapists and care home staff to work closely together during musical activities, for non-NTs to gain a better understanding, and Grace will touch on this later, how important that is to keep the message and the activity going on when NTs are not around, which is exactly that point. And then at the end, we wanted to produce a detailed report with case studies to further promote the benefits of music therapy. So there were objectives. These are some amazing photos that we got back from the music therapists and care home staff from MHA care homes, and you can see it being used in a whole manner of areas, different situations. You can see just on desks, on little feeding tables, eating tables. You can see, I love this picture here in the middle. This is a member of MHA staff, obviously got a quick 30 seconds to have a go at playing themselves. So not only was it good for residents, but it's also good for staff morale. It was something new, something fun. So some great feedback there that came through off the report. So before we go into the results, I want to show you this case study here, and this is fantastic. This came from MHA Croydon, one of the music therapists, Sophie Williams. Really great video, which highlights Jill interacting with the keyboard, first of all, whistling along, watching the lights. She had a personal connection, you can see on the right, to the song Ave Maria, but then also having a go at playing Ave Maria. And you'll notice exactly what Chris has just showed you. The keyboard is waiting for Jill, and that helps with any concerns or anxiety about trying to keep up with a regular pulse. But it also sounds the correct note when Jill does play a few notes that are not 100% correct. And again, that is positive confirmation that we want to really push, rather than, oh, I've made a mistake, it sounds terrible, I can't do this. So without further ado, I will play you this fantastic video of Jill at MHA Croydon. So really great example of the keyboard in use there by a music therapist in a care home and someone having a go and interacting with the keyboard. So we move on to the results. I'm going to talk through this first page, then I'm going to hand over to Grace, who's going to elaborate on them much more eloquently than I can. So the survey results, we had 185 responses across different categories. 25 qualified and registered music therapists who took part in this survey. We had 49 non-music therapists, so these are activity coordinators, those that don't have a formal background or training in music therapy. And then we had 111 residents within those care homes who provided feedback for us. 44 of them were able to complete that survey autonomously without assistance, and 67 either had an MT or a care home member of staff sit with them. And this was an adaptive survey, so the questions served up were slightly different. We're not going to ask the residents the same questions that we asked qualified music therapists. And it all fed back and helped us to put together the report in these different sections. So the first thing that came back was in terms of the product and the product design. Do you agree that the portability, the carry handle, the lightweight meant that you were able to deliver music therapy or music activity sessions to residents in more places? And 92% of music therapists agreed that actually this overcame that big barrier. 80% of care home staff agreed. And lovely quote here from music therapists down at Chamwood House. One resident who is in bed all day could balance the keyboard on his lap and it wasn't too heavy. It inspired them to improvise, create their own song, and evoked a lot of conversation and episodic memories about the songs they had heard. So the key thing for me, and certainly speaking to me and Grace about here, is that it evoked conversation and memories to do with those songs. So a great opening statement around the product, and be able to deliver that to someone who might not be able to make it to the common room where music therapy happens. So at this point, I'm now going to ask Grace to unmute.
Lovely, thanks,
Start
Neil.
to go through the rest of the results.
Thank you. And I mean, just to reiterate what Neil said, I think one of the most exciting things is that we were able to collect data from the different participants in the project. And that for us felt really important, because this is, in the essence of music therapy, this is not about doing to, this is about being with. So we wanted to make sure we'd heard from everybody. And we've asked a whole range of questions, everything from the practicality of it to the kind of ways of working. And as you can see, we had a strong agreement from the music therapists who were involved. 83% felt that the follow the light system made it easier for participants to produce something more musically recognizable in comparison to alternative instruments. But also that sort of ties into this idea that, you know, people often think, oh, I wish I'd learned to play the piano as a child or as an adult. And so this really made it an accessible way in to fulfill some of those wishes and those desires. And then the song library. Again, the fact that we had so many responses, and there were such positive responses, couldn't have been more encouraging, really. This idea of making sure, as Neil's already touched on, the importance of personalisation. We know that music has the greatest impact and can be most beneficial when it has been personalised. So the choice of songs available within the song library was really important. So a significant percentage of music therapists and care home staff said that song library was really relevant to the demographic, to those taking part. And then the impact. This is really crucial. We're getting into the real detail of it. That there was what we were asking music therapists to look at and just to report back on was what this was doing for the residents who were taking part. And as you can see here on this lovely little chart, is that, you know, residents reported or observed feeling either elated or happy following the completion of a song on the keyboard. So 86% of music therapists, 100% of residents and 87% of those assisting the residents. Now that's enormous if you think about what dementia does and the way it strips people of confidence, self-esteem, a sense of self, all those kind of things. To have that reinstated, if you like, through the participation of having a session with a music therapist and the keyboard. So this is really exciting. So the results just keep going in that vein, really. They're very, very positive. Again, thinking about the impact, they're saying that residents displayed further signs of memory recall after producing a recognizable song. Again, this really underlines and further strengthens the argument that taking part in a musical activity or having a musical experience can reignite the ability and the capacity to not only memory recall, but also have social interactions after a musical experience. So again, really positive results here. This one is really important because these are some of the key symptoms that we often associate with dementia. They're the ones where people are most interested in, where music can make the greatest impact. So agitation, anxiety, mood swings, and depression. And what was noticeable here was that there was, a really similar response from both music therapists and care home staff. So high levels of response in agitation, anxiety, and then mood swings and depression. So all really, really positive. And these are fantastic findings for us to be able to use to make the case around music being an integral part of dementia care. And again, a lovely set of responses here in terms of both music therapists and care home staff strongly agreeing there was an increase in the following areas: sense of fulfillment and achievement, controlled state of emotion, calmness, improved recall, overall confidence, and greater desire to get involved in music therapy sessions. So countering that sense of apathy and people regressing into themselves. So again, a really positive set of scores there in terms of the feedback. And then the next slide, again, wonderful results. So the percentage of music therapists and care home staff that felt that offering sessions with the keyboard helped them to work more closely with those in their care and make music a much bigger part of their care. Really interesting here that we have almost identical results between the music therapists and the care home staff. And the activity coordinator here said, I've taken part in more musical activities than before, especially whilst working with the music therapist and student music therapist on this project, which has given me more confidence. And that's like gold. This is what we really wanted to see happen, was that collaboration between music therapy staff and staff from the care home. So this was really a highlight for us when the results were coming through. And then again, we were really trying to look at the detail here to underline the importance and the necessity of music. So we were looking for some really tangible things that we could demonstrate. So an improvement in hand-eye coordination, listening skills, concentration, general motor skills, finger dexterity, all things that are really important for the everyday. And again, a great, very positive set of results there in terms of what was both observed by the music therapists and the care home staff. I'm going to hand back to Neil now.
Great. Thank you very much, Grace, for going through them, putting some more context around them, which is great to see. So what I want to now show you is another video and a case study, a lady called Brenda that was in a MHA care home in Wales with music therapist Kerry Rawson. Now, I just want to point out a couple of things. In this video, you'll hear Brenda say, I've not done this before. I can't do it, and initially starts to struggle because she's making a few mistakes, but then Kerry's really fantastic, supporting her, starts singing the melody, and you'll see from using one finger, the confidence starts to build, and then starts to use multiple fingers and stretching the hand, again the physical impact of playing the keyboard. So some of those barriers and objections are very clear and visible in this video, which I will now play.
Clementine, oh my darling, I've never done it, but try it. I can't.
Just follow legs, take your time to follow legs.
I can't do it. I don't know where I am. I started at the beginning again now or not.
No, it's carried on. Oh
be, yes.
I think that video really sums up what we were trying to achieve with this project. Those barriers of, like, I've not done this before, I can't do it. Kerry there was fantastic, really supporting Brenda and making sure she carried on. And then, as you saw towards the end, really getting into it. So, and you see that the keyboard was waiting, it was playing the correct notes, even when the wrong notes were depressed. So some really, really fantastic feedback. So, summary. We're coming towards the end now. So 3 partners in this amazing project: Casio, MHA Care Homes, and Music for Dementia. We set out to do something a little bit different, and we produced a really in-depth report. We launched it on the 1st of September to mark the start of World Alzheimer's Month. It got featured on the 3rd of September on Sky News, all over the weekend, every hour for 10 minutes. It was amazing to see it being picked up by a national news agency. We were covered in the Independent Mail Online. There was a stint on Times Radio and the Evening Standard. This is probably a couple of months old now, and the reach there was 480 million plus. We think it's gone up significantly since then. So we're really pleased with what we managed to achieve. We generated a huge amount of PR surrounding the campaign. More residents were able to take part in music therapy or music activities. Residents were able to produce something musically recognizable, which you've just seen with Brenda. Non-music therapists became closer to music activity and felt more confident. And the report further reinforced the many health and wellbeing benefits of music therapy, certainly that it can bring to residents in care homes. So that is bringing us to the very end of our session now, and we'll have some questions in a minute. But before I move on, I have to say some huge special thanks around this project. Obviously, Grace is on this call with her advice and support and being integral in this project. It would never have happened. So thank you, Grace. But also, we have to thank Dr. Ming Hung Xiu, not only for inviting us to take part and share this wonderful project today, but actually at the time, Ming was music therapy lead for MHA Care Homes. And without his support and recognition that this could really make a difference, this wouldn't have got off the ground. He had to sell it into the board of directors. MHA are very forward thinking, and they've got on board straight away. So Dr. Ming, thank you very much for supporting us and making this happen. I'd also like to thank everybody at MHA Care Homes, every single member of staff, right from the board of directors down to care home managers, activity coordinators, and all the music therapists that took part, as well as the residents. But also some special shout outs. Sophie Williams, music therapist, who did a case study there with Jill and provided some amazing video footage. Kerry Rawson, music therapist in Wales, again did some amazing work and video footage and a case study with Brenda. And also Claire Barone, music therapist at MHA, who at very short notice stood in front of the cameras for Sky News and explained everything about the project. So thank you very, very much for everybody that took part. We will now go into some questions and answers. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I think we're probably on 45 minutes. Thank you.
Brilliant project, and yeah, a lot of positive feedback. So we have got some questions, I understand. So some of the questions are related to the keyboard. So I think we've got one from Diana. What is the price range of the keyboard?
Okay, so yeah, obviously we do have a commercial interest in this as Casio. The keyboard is called the LKS 250, and the keyboard, we do a bundle package where you get the keyboard, you get the stand, you get the headphones, and then you get a full training video from Chris as well, and it's £249 for all of that. So it's a relatively affordable setup bundle that can be implemented in care homes. We do offer a heavy discount for music therapists, 25% off that price, should anybody be interested in purchasing that for themselves to go and take take out to their own care homes, or I know that there's quite a few music therapists working numerous care homes and take it about with them. But it's £249 with a discount available for music therapists.
Thank you.
And we worked something out, didn't we, Neil, that it gets cheaper every time you use it. So it goes up in value technically as you use it, because the more people get to feel its benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And obviously they're available for purchase, but how do people get in touch?
Okay, so Chris, I think Chris was going to share the link for, if you haven't seen the full report, Chris was going to share the link for anybody to download the report. At the back of the report, or the end of the report, there is a link for anyone to click on, and it will take you to the page where you can buy the bundle. But also, if you are interested, we can provide you with a discount code, any music therapists with a discount code, and it will qualify them for 25% off. So Chris, I think you can put the email address in the chat should someone, if they're interested, email you and get the code directly from you.
Yep, I've just done that right now, so it should be there.
Great.
Thank you. And I think there was a question from Hannah. Is that right? Yeah. How easy is it to change the tempo on the songs? Although brilliant, she managed to play it. Just wonder, as she felt flustered in that, my slowing the tempo may have helped. Or is that why the keyboard waits?
Yeah, I mean, the brilliant thing about this keyboard is it will wait for you to find the right note. But you can, if you want to, very easily. If I just go back to my little display here, very quickly show you how to do that. If we take a song again, like I was doing earlier. So if you wanted to slow it down, there's a button here that says tempo. Just press tempo, and then you can use the wheel. If you turn it anti-clockwise, you can slow it down. So it's really very, very straightforward.
I think it's really important to point out those two differences. You can either set a tempo and try and play along with a fixed tempo at 80 beats per minute or 60 beats per minute. That's one option. Or you can set it where the keyboard will wait for you. So the example with Brenda, she was getting flustered at the start, but the keyboard was actually waiting for her to progress, and it didn't move the backing until she pressed that note. So it was going entirely at the speed she was comfortable with. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I think we have unfortunately run out of time, but it's been brilliant to have our three brilliant speakers and also everyone who've joined us tonight. So yeah, thank you so much for coming, and I'm sure you can get in touch with Neil and Grace for further information. So thank you very much for coming.